Last week in math, we were looking at the hundredths place, and by the end of the week, we were doing some adding and subtracting with it. We're going to continue that for this week, and the numbers are getting gradually bigger. So this assignment is adding, subtracting to the hundredths place, and your numbers are between 10 and 100. So they'd be double-digit numbers with 2 digits in the decimal place. So when you are adding, you kind of have 2 choices on how you want to do that, the work. There's more than actually 2 choices, but here's 2 that I can give you. One is called the count forward strategy, which basically means you group each place value in the assignment or in the question, and then once you have each of those individual place values figured out, you add them all together. So for example, in this one here, 32.61 plus 27.38, we add the tens for 30 plus 20, our ones, 2 plus 7, our tenths, 0.6 plus 0.3, and our hundredths, 0.01 plus 0.08, which is 0.09. And then we take the answers from each of those and put them together. 59, 0.9, 0.09, all together we get 59.99. Now, we can use that strategy, or we can use a stacking strategy, which would have us do carrying when you needed to have it. So if I look at the second question, in the examples I've given you, 48.67 plus 13.92, you may notice that I've stacked these and put them in so that they are grouped place value one above the other. And when I get to the point where I have to carry, so for example, 6 tenths plus 9 tenths is 15 tenths, I would put the 5 in the tenths place and carry that 1 over to where it belongs above the 8. And that's 1, 8, and 3, which is 12. And then I put the 2 here and carry that 10 over to the tens place where it belongs. So I have a couple of examples for you guys that you can look at using these 2 different strategies. And like I say, they are just 2 of the many strategies. For subtracting, the 2 strategies I've shown you are the count back strategy and the stacking strategy, which uses borrowing when it needs to, when you need that. So, for example, if I'm subtracting one that doesn't have any regrouping, it's pretty easy to just say, well, 40 minus 20, 7 minus 3, 9 tenths minus 6 tenths, 5 tenths minus 1 tenth. Take what I have, which would be 20, 4, 3 tenths, and 4 hundredths, and together I have 24.34. It's a little tougher to use the count back strategy if I have to do some regrouping, although not impossible. It just means I go into the negatives. I prefer, when I have to do some regrouping, to do the stacking strategy, where I will actually borrow. So for example, in the second question, 72.51 minus 36.48, in the hundredths place, it's 1 minus 8. Well, I can't do that without borrowing in this strategy. So I take 1 of the tenths and I move it over to the hundredths place. So now I have 4 tenths there, and that makes 11 hundredths. And then I can do my subtracting from there. The thing to remember about the borrowing strategy is that the numbers have to make sense on top here. So for example, I have 72.51 here, 0.51, and when I regroup the numbers, I had 60, 12, 0.4, and 0.11. So if I look at this, 60 plus 12 is 72, 72 plus 0.4 is 72.4, and then add 11 hundredths, I have 72.51. So I didn't actually change the amount that's there. I just regrouped them so that they will work better for this stacking strategy. So something to keep in mind. On the back side of the page, I have 5 adding questions and 5 subtracting questions. Do your best on them and let me know if you have any issues. I will make a review video for this side of the page next. Thanks, guys.